Hello everyone, welcome to Aptplus Academy for Civil Sources. Today I am here to discuss the most important current affairs which appeared in past 3 days. And the first important current affairs to be discussed here is the bail is rule, jail is exception. So this current affairs appeared in The Hindu, and you can see the newspaper cutting here, and I have also highlighted the important parts. And this current affairs basically talks about the bail should be the rule and jail should be the exception. So this case appeared in the Manish Sisodia case. So this case is related to the recent release of the Manish Sisodia, who was the minister in Delhi, and he was released on bail by the Supreme Court of India recently. And this case basically highlights that the bail should be the rule and jail should be the exception, which was articulated by the Justice Krishna Iyer in 1977. So Justice Krishna Iyer in 1977 judgment delivered a verdict which is going to change the landscape of India regarding the bail. And in this case, the Justice Krishna Iyer reiterated the fact that the bail should always be given to any individual, and incarceration should stop. Okay, so jail should be less frequent, but bail should be more frequent. So as per this verdict, the Supreme Court of India highlighted that the bail is under the right to life and personal liberty is under Article 21. Okay, so the issues so far as the Manish Sisodia's case is involved is the right to liberty and bail as a rule. Okay, so this is the first issue, and second issue is the right to speedy trial. Okay, whether the person who is being incarcerated or who is being given imprisonment should be given the fair trial and the speedy trial or not. That is also the case here. And as for the Supreme Court of India, the recent judgment in the Manish Sisodia case, the Supreme Court of India highlighted that the right to fair and speedy trial is there, which is also integral part of Article 21. Okay, so this is again important. And right to speedy trial is reiterated in the case Kashmira Singh and the Chidambaram case of 2020. So these two cases are again important, which can be highlighted in your mains answer writing. So Kashmira Singh and Chidambaram case as well, the right to speedy trial was highlighted, and the constitutional mandate versus procedural delays. So this is again an important issue which was highlighted in this case. The court underscored the need for the constitutional mandates to prevail over the procedural delays. It ruled that the right to bail in speedy cases should be interpreted within the section 439 of the CRPC and section 45 of the PMLA. So these two sections were highlighted here, and the right to bail should be given in all the cases as per the Supreme Court verdict. And these right to bail are again there in the section 439 of CRPC under the CRPC, and the section 45 in the PMLA. Okay, so this is again important. And what are the concerns about the PMLA? So PMLA has the significant concerns as per the Supreme Court of India, which is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Okay, so in this this case is very controversial, and many people and many social media activists as well as the lawyers has protested against this PMLA, because the PMLA is considered to be stringent and potentially oppressive application. Okay, so it is considered to be very stringent, and over 10 years more than 5,000 cases have been registered under the PMLA, but only 40 convictions had taken place in last few years. Okay, so the conviction rate is very less. Although the people are arrested, they are given the imprisonment, but after the trials, the people are found to be not guilty of the crime. Okay, so this is the PMLA process. So for this reason, since the conviction rate is very low in PMLA, the PMLA is generally criticized. The low conviction rate and prolonged detention of accused person under PMLA highlight the concerns that the law might be used as a tool for harassment rather than for the genuine enforcement. So this was highlighted by Supreme Court of India in various judgments. Okay, so this scenario reflects broader worries about the potential misuse of penal laws in India. So what is happening is that under PMLA, the bail is given less frequent. Okay, so since the bail is less, jail is more in case of PMLA. So this the epithet, which is the bail is rule, jail is exception, is applicable in case of PMLA as well. Okay, so this is again important. And what should be the way forward? Reaffirm the principle of bail, not jail. Okay, we discussed about it. So the way forward should be the bail should be more and jail should be the exception, and the speedy trial should be ensured. And you can quote the 21st law commission report, which recommended increasing number of judges using technology to expedite the trials. Okay, so we can establish the various codes. Okay, so the number of courts and number of judges can be increased in India, and that technology can be adopted so that the trials happens in the speedy manner, and reform stringent laws like PMLA. Okay, so PMLA should be reformed so as to ensure that the bail is granted more frequently. So the Supreme Court's decision in Manish Sisodia versus Directorate of Enforcement emphasized the need to read in the light of bail into section 439 of CRPC and section 45 of PMLA in the case of delay. Okay, so these two sections were highlighted in this Manish Sisodia versus the Delhi liquor case, okay, which is the Directorate of Enforcement case. So यहाँ पे 439 and section 45 emphasize किया गया. Basically these two sections provides that the bail should be exception. Okay, so bail is given in the less frequent manner as per these sections. So section 45 of PM. So as per this verdict, section 439 of CRPC and section 45 of PMLA should be used in a less frequent manner. So this is again important because these two sections provide for denial of the bail to the under trials. Okay, so these two sections should be used less in less frequent manner, but these two sections are not quite important. You do not need to remember the sections, but you just need to remember that the Manish Sisodia and Directorate of Enforcement is related to the bail. This important point is the enhanced legal aid and access to justice. Okay, so article 39A, which we all know that it provides for the free legal aid and access to justice system to all. Okay, so article 39A should be implemented in letter and spirit as per this law. And the Supreme Court of India highlighted the importance of article 39A. So these points can be written in way ahead. So these were important points to be analyzed in this bail is a rule, jail is an exception topic. So next important topic is refugee rights and gendered nature of displacement. So this article appeared in the Hindu again, and this article basically talks about the gendered nature of displacement, how different genders are affected in the displacement process. So according to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, by 2023, end of 2023, okay, and there will be around how many 11.73 crore people worldwide and have been forcibly displaced due to persecution. Okay, so persecution, violence, human right violations and events of seriously disturbing public order are affecting the people around the world and displacing them. And of all the displaced people, 3.76 crore people are refugees. Okay, so there are 11.73 crore who are the displaced people. So if you consider the displacements, so there are different kind of displacement. So displacement does not mean that all the displaced people are refugees. Okay, so there can be migrants, there can be internally displaced people. Okay, so there can be also refugees. Okay, so you have to know the difference as well. So the most number of people who gets displaced are internally displaced people. Okay, so internally displaced people are in very high number, but the most important fact is that you need to know the difference between the refugees and migrants. So refugees are the people who migrates to other countries for the persecution, human right violence, etc. Okay, so this is the refugees, and the migrants are the people who migrate to other countries for the sake of employment opportunities and other career related purposes. Okay, so this is the difference between migrants and refugees. And of 11.73 crore displaced people, 3.76 crore are refugees. That means around 1/3 of the people are the refugees of the displaced people. Okay, so this refugee crisis is being highlighted in recent incidents such as the Israel Hamas war, Ukraine-Russia war, and the Rohingya crisis which happened in Myanmar. Okay, so this article basically highlights that different genders are affected in different ways. For instance, women and girls faces the sexual harassment. Okay, so they also faces gendered violence such as the sexual, physical, mental, and economic harm inflicted by the public in the or in the private cases. Okay, so they frequently bear the primary responsibility of family's sustenance. Women are often solely responsible for children and are usually last to flee. For this reason, they affect more than a male, as per this article. And men and boys also is affected in the displacement process, because men often bear the different socioeconomic responsibilities and pressures, such as providing for the families and navigating labor markets in the host countries. Okay, so the labor market, they have to find the labor market, they have to find the economic activities in the host market. So for this reason, men and boys are affected in different way, and the person with disabilities are also affected in different way. As per the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, recognizes the psychosocial disability as the long-term mental and intellectual impairments. Okay, so long-term mental and intellectual impairments happen on the people with disabilities because they are the disabled people, and they are the person who cannot easily leave the country. Okay, so for this reason, they are also affected. So these were important facts related to the gendered approach of the gendered violence so far as the displacement is concerned. And India and refugee policy, so far as India is concerned, as we all know that India is not signatory of 1949 Refugee Convention and 1967 Protocol. Okay, so this is very important. So when India was repatriating the people who are the Rohingyas, when Rohingyas were repatriated from the country, the Rohingyas were given the reason, or the Bangladesh were given the reason, that India is not signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention and 1967 protocol. Okay, so these two convention and protocol are important because this talks about the principle of non-refoulement. So this is a fundamental principle in the international refugee law that prohibits the return of the individuals to the country where they face the serious threats of their life or freedom. Okay, so serious threats of life and freedom, wherever they are facing, they cannot be returned to their country as per this principle of refoulement. Okay, so since India is not signatory to these two conventions, the principle of non-refoulement is not applicable in case of India. But the principle of non-refoulement is ingrained in Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Article 21 of the Constitution supports the principle of non-refoulement, saying that there is right to life and personal liberty to individual, and which again helps to interpret the principle of the non-refoulement. Okay, so although India is not signatory to this, Article 21 reaffirms that fact. The Supreme Court of India has reformed the foreign citizens are entitled to fundamental rights such as equality and right to life. So Supreme Court also has interpreted this fact in the National Human Rights Commission versus State of Arunachal Pradesh 1996. Okay, so you can know about the laws. Foreigners Act of 1946 talks about the rights or the denial of rights to the foreigners, what rights are denied, who are the refugees, when can they be given the asylum in India. So Foreigners Act 1946 talks about it. So these were important laws and the principles related to the refugee policy in India. So these were all important facts related to the important current affairs. Now moving on to next important topic of discussion for today. Person you can see in the picture is none other than the Muhammad Yunus, who is the Nobel Peace Prize winner from Bangladesh, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. And he has been in news recently because Bangladesh is forming an interim government under his leadership. So Bangladesh will be headed by the Nobel laureate for the first time. Okay, so this is very important news. And Muhammad Yunus is known for his work in microfinance and poverty alleviation. So he has worked in the poverty alleviation program in Bangladesh, and he established Grameen Bank of Bangladesh in 1975. So this is very important because the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh influenced the formation of self-help group in India. So the genesis of self-help group in India is in the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, which was established by Nobel Laureate Muhammad Yunus. So this is very important point. So the Bangladesh will be the country which will be headed by the Nobel Laureate, and in this context we will understand which are the different countries which were headed by the Nobel Laureates in the past. So different Nobel Laureates has headed the different governments in different countries at different times. So we'll understand about them as well, and we'll also understand the UPSC PYQ in this context. So the most important person that headed the government of any country and who has been the Nobel Laureate is the Aung San Suu Kyi. Okay, so Aung San Suu Kyi was the former premier of the Myanmar, and Aung San Suu Kyi was the daughter of the founding father of Myanmar. Okay, so comment in the comment section who was the founding father of the Myanmar. Okay, and he headed the government in Myanmar from 2016 to 2021, and she basically is an important person because she played an important role in the transition to partial democracy in Myanmar, and she received Nobel Prize in 1991 for her non-violent struggle for democracy and human rights violation. Okay, but she has been a controversial figure because in 2021 what happened is there was a refugee crisis. So refugee crisis was related to the Rohingya crisis. So Rohingya crisis was there. So many Rohingya people fled from Myanmar, and due to which she has been a controversial figure because many opposed her regime, because Aung San Suu Kyi was accused of not taking any action against the people who brutally treated against the Rohingyas, who made the Rohingyas flee from the country. And the Aung San Suu Kyi also had to resign as the premier of Myanmar in 2021. So Aung San Suu Kyi was an important Nobel laureate who was appointed as the head of Myanmar. Next important person is our favorite Nelson Mandela. So Nelson Mandela was appointed as the president of South Africa because he fought against the apartheid regime in South Africa. So in apartheid regime what used to happen is there used to be segregation of white and black people. ठीक है, so white and black में discrimination होता था साउथ अफ्रीका में. so ये discriminatory law के against में इन्होंने protest किया. किनके साथ मिलके? बहुत सारा यहाँ पे लीडर्स थे. मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट वर दी प्रेसिडेंट फ्रेडरिक विल्हेम डी क्लर्क. ठीक है, सो along with President Frederick Wilhelm de Klerk, Nelson Mandela received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. ठीक है, so everyone knows about Nelson Mandela, but there was another important person who is the President Frederick Wilhelm de Klerk. ठीक है, so this is important. Since he opposed against the British rule and the apartheid regime in South Africa, he was imprisoned for 27 years in South African jail. So Nelson Mandela was also a Nobel laureate before he was appointed as the head of the South Africa. And next important person is Jose Ramos Horta. So Jose Ramos Horta is again important person because he was the founding father of East Timor. So East Timor is important country in Southeast Asia, and he was basically founding father of East Timor. So East Timor is a country which is the first sovereign state in 21st century. So 21st century का first जो country था वो East Timor था. ठीक है, so you have to know about it. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1996 for advocating for peaceful resolution to the conflict in East Timor. So East Timor में जो conflict हो रहा था उसको रिजॉल्व करने के लिए इनको नोबेल पीस प्राइज दिया गया कब? 1996 में. ठीक है, सो जोस रैमोस होटा, दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटी इज लेक वेलेसा. सो लेक वेलेसा वाज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पुलिस एक्टिविस्ट. he was from Poland and he opposed the communism. ठीक है, so before the Lech Walesa came to prominence in Poland, there was influence of USSR. ठीक है, so USSR is a communist regime. ठीक है, which is a socialist regime, also called the communist regime. So communism or socialism had influence in Poland, but Lech Walesa opposed the communism in Poland, and he became the first democratically elected president of Poland from 1900 to 1995. ठीक है, so for this reason Lech Walesa was an important person and he received the Nobel Prize in 1983. See, ठीक है, so before he became the president of Poland, he received the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, this is important. Next important person is Lester B. Pearson. So Lester B. Pearson is an important personality from Canada, and he was the Canadian Prime Minister from 1963 to 1968, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1957 for resolving the Suez Crisis. So Suez Crisis was an important crisis related to the ownership of Suez Canal, which connects the Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea. Okay, so there was a ownership issue of the Suez Canal, and Suez Canal is important because most of the global trades happens through the Suez Canal, and the European countries are have an important stake in the Suez Canal. And in the Suez Canal crisis, the Abdul Nasser, take care, so Abdul Nasser was the president of the Egypt. So this is the Sinai Peninsula. ठीक है, सो सिनाई पेनिनसुला में क्या है, इजिप्ट है. सो अब्दुल नाजिर was the president of Sinai Peninsula or the Egypt at that time, and he aimed to nationalize the Suez Canal. So to oppose the nationalization of Suez Canal by the Abdul Nasir, Western powers came together for a war against the Egypt. And in this case, Lester B. Pearson basically recommended for the deployment of United Nations peacekeeping force in Suez crisis. So Suez crisis was the first instance where the United Nations peacekeeping force was used. ठीक है, ये पॉइंट आपको याद रखना है कि जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस पीस कीपिंग फोर्स का पहला यूज कहाँ पे हुआ था, सुएज क्राइसिस में हुआ था. एंड ये किसने रिकमेंड किया था, जस्टर बी पियर्सन. सो फॉर दिस रीजन ही रिसीव द नोबेल प्राइज. ठीक है, सो दिस इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सन, जस्टर बी, एंड ही ऑल्सो हेडेड द कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट. ठीक है, विल अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट द सुएज क्राइसिस इन डिटेल इन अनदर वीडियो. सो यहाँ पे आपको एक चीज याद रखना है कि सुएज क्राइसिस वाज रिलेटेड टू द ओनरशिप ऑफ द सुएज कैनल. सो दीज वर ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटीज हु वर द नोबेल लॉरेट बिफोर दे वर अपॉइंटेड एज द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट. बट दिस लिस्ट इज ओनली द लिस्ट विच इंक्लूड्स द पर्सन हु वॉन द नोबेल प्राइज बिफोर बिकमिंग द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द कंट्री. ठीक है, सो मेनी पर्सनालिटीज have won the Nobel Prize after being appointed as the president or the head of their country. ठीक है, so these were just the names of the people who were appointed before they were elected to the president or prime ministership of their country. But in total there are 30 Nobel Prize recipients to serve as the country's head. And you can take the example of PM Simon Peres, who was the former Israel PM. Former US President Jimmy Carter has also received the Nobel Peace Prize, and Barack Obama has also received the Nobel Prize, and most important person is Winston Churchill has also received the Nobel Prize. And out of 30 Nobel Prize recipients who are the head of the state, one is an exception, and this is very important, who is the Winston Churchill. So Winston Churchill was the person who received the Nobel Prize in literature. ठीक है, so he was an important writer as well. So Winston Churchill जो वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के टाइम में प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे ब्रिटिश के, तो इनको नोबेल प्राइज दिया गया है लिटरेचर में 1953 में. ठीक है, सो दीज वर ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स. एंड सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ हैविंग नोबेल लॉरेट एज हेड ऑफ स्टेट. व्हाई आर appointing the Nobel laureates as head of the state important? Because they acts as symbol of hope for the country. They are important for advocacy for peace and justice. ठीक है, Nobel laureates are frequently associated with ideals of peace, democracy and human rights, and they are the inspiration for future leaders as well. They inspire the future leaders. ठीक है, so this is an important point. Why are they significant? And these are the UPSC prelims questions which was asked in various years. So this type of simple questions are also asked in UPSC. So for this reason I covered this topic. Who among the following scientists shared the Nobel Prize in physics with his son? So this is very important question, and answer this question in the comment section. मैं आपको हिंट दे देता हूँ, द आंसर इज रिलेटेड टू द एक्स-रे रिलेटेड डिस्कवरी. ठीक है, सो द फादर सन डुओ received the Nobel Prize together, and Nobel Prize winning James D. Watson is known for his work in which area? ठीक है, ये भी easy question है, कमेंट करो comment section में. So these were all important questions related to the UPSC PYQ, and these were all important Nobel laureates who were heads of the state. So with this I am wrapping up this session. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you.